All right, so let's get started. We'll just need a couple of blocks. And we're also going to have a pigeon pose in there if there's some particular prop you like to use for that. And we will start lying on the block with the block under the sacrum. All right, so coming down onto your mat, inhale and exhale, maybe take a moment just melting into the floor. And then as you're ready, we lift up, sliding the block under the sacrum. Sliding the legs out to straight or wherever they go initially. And getting yourself settled in here. Maybe pushing on the block here, the waist. You start with the legs wider if you want, maybe ankle circling. Or perhaps what you really need and want is just to lie two nice long parallel lines in stillness on the block and not do anything but breathe. And then we can get more organized there on the block, bringing those legs in hip distance apart or maybe right together, flexing the feet, arms alongside, and the palms down like the bridge pose arms, giving those upper arms a little rolling out. Inhaling and exhaling, lengthening over the block. A little reach through the heels, press down with the back of the thighs, drawing up with the abdominal muscles. Stretching yourself over the block, cooperating with the block. And then we'll reach a little longer through the heels and we'll lift the right leg up parallel to the floor. And keep reaching long through both heels, long through the top of the head. Breathing 3, 2, and 1. Reaching that right leg down longer than it went up. And then reaching through the left heel, lifting that left leg up about parallel to the floor. And breathing here. And reaching down through the left heel, reaching through both legs. And then just take a stretch overhead with the arms. Bringing the arms back down alongside, and then we'll hinge that right leg in, bend your knee, pulling it in. You can just pull in with your muscles, or maybe one or both hands on the knee or behind the thigh. Reaching long from that right knee to the left heel, feeling long and flat. And then we'll set the right foot down, sliding it out to meet the left. Stand on two legs for a moment. And then we'll bend the left leg in, hinging it in. Just pulling with the muscles and letting gravity do the pull as well, or maybe using one or both hands. Long line from that left knee to the right heel. And feeling long and flat, though of course we're not really long and flat. And then setting that left foot down, sliding it out straight. Taking a stretch overhead with the arms again. Pressing the back down alongside. And then we'll bend the knees, lifting up off the block, rolling down. Vertebrae by vertebrae. If you didn't quite get that roll down, you can always do a little scoop back up and roll. And then we'll come up in the bridge pose. Pressing the feet into the floor, lifting that pelvis up. And then interlocking the fingers underneath. If you want, you can bend the arms and put the hands at that sacrum, kind of like the block. Inhaling into the front of the body, making more space. Exhale, moving up into the space. And feeling of the upper chest reaching toward the chin. So maybe it's not doing a lot of reaching toward the chin, but we have an intention to have an arch in the upper back as well as there through the lower back. And then rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae. Landing on the floor, everything melts into the floor. Your face might need a little melting into the floor too. And then we will come up to sitting in Sukhasana with the crossed legs, and let's come forward right away. So maybe not a big aggressive forward, but just enough to breathe into the back of the body. Maybe a little micro cat and cow action there. Track the back, lengthen out. And then coming up on top of those sitting bones, using the arms behind, lengthening up with a little lift. Is there any squinging still to be done doing that? And slowly release with the arms. And letting the hands rest on the knees. Inhaling and exhaling. We'll strengthen, lift up through the center line, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders. Softening or closing the eyes. And really bringing all your attention to the breath. A gentle rise and fall. Expand and contract. And then all those subtle actions as you feel the breath move through your whole body. And then let's reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing the arms up. And breathing them down twice more. Lifting all the way from the base of the pelvis. And then we will change the cross of the legs, coming forward once again. And then we'll walk our hands over to the right diagonal. So I'm being the mirror just for the moment in this first section. And then walking hands through the center over to the left. And back to the center. And then coming up. Pulling up, stacking those vertebrae, landing back on the sitting bones. Inhale and exhale, arriving in this moment. And let's come up and downward facing dog. So just make sure you have whatever you might want for the pigeon up there at the front corner of your mat. Well, we won't get to the pigeon for a bit yet. Now we're in downward facing dog. Walking the dog or anything else you want to do here. And then finishing up with that, finding the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Nothing moving but the breath. Inhaling up to those sitting bones. Exhale, pouring down the backs of the legs. Let's lengthen forward to the plank, nice and slowly. Pulling the sides back and the center line forward. And there we are, long and flat against the ceiling. Good. And then slowly pressing yourself back up, side sliding back, center line, resist just a little. And there we are back in downward facing dog. And then coming down, sitting back in child's pose, really making it a pose. Coming forward into the Sphinx. Pulling back with the elbows, pulling back with the hands, reaching back through the legs. And like we did Monday, we're going to really feel like we're dragging the elbows and knees toward each other as if we're doing, and as if we're going to come up in a cat back on the knees. We'll scoop under with the tailbone and pulling up. Keep doing that action of pulling the elbows and knees together, trying to tuck the tailbone, holding 3, 2, and 1. And then lengthening back out into the Sphinx. All right, so let's do that once more. Try not to just, it's not a hinge up with the hips, kind of come kind of from the upper abdominal muscles. All right, here we go. Pulling elbows and knees toward each other, rounding yourself up. Even though like our flat line earlier, it might not literally be a rounding. Breathe and hold here. 3, 2, pull just a little more into the center. And lengthening back out to the Sphinx. And then let's come up with the elbows, adjusting where the hands are as needed. A nice spacious stretchy cobra. And coming down, and then we'll do the giant bug cobra, hands across from the shoulders. We stand on the pads of the fingers on spider hands. So not on the tips of the fingers, up. There, not flattened spider. Pads of the fingers, yeah. And if that's too much, you can always put the hands flat. All right, reach the elbows out and have a little press forward as we come up. So finding a good balance between pressing up where you might be able to straighten the arms and then doing a little pull wide with the elbows. And then we'll ripple like that, reaching forward. And then as you come up, a little bit of that pull action there up through the upper body. And let's do that rippling 3 or 4 more times. And then coming up once more in that giant bug. And we'll do a twist, dipping the left shoulder down, turning the head, so you can go all the way down and put the right ear to the floor for a moment. And then coming back up, left ear.
Oh, okay.
Whichever way you twist it.
Yeah.
And then the other way. So the right shoulder goes down, you twist left, and you put your right ear to the floor. Okay. Coming up. So let's do that once more. The way that makes sense is you twist right and up and twisting left. And up, and then calming down, letting the forehead rest on the hands for a few breaths. All right, one more thing while we're down here. Let's interlock the fingers. Giving the shoulders a roll out. Focus on the arms for a moment. So the arms are going long and flat, so we're not trying to press the hands up. The whole arm from the top of the shoulders down the upper arm out the wrist is pressing up in a parallel line. And then we'll lengthen to lift in Salabhasana. And calming down, and we will peel ourselves back up to downward facing dog, maybe a couple cats and cows along the way. And if you want a little more dog walking now that we're back up here, you could put that in. All right, here we are, downward facing dog. And you could just hold here, maybe going through a vinyasa smoothly if you like, any version. And as you come up, if you're doing that, as you come back from the upward facing dog or cobra, see if you can get some of that hold, a little more lift up in the abdominal muscles. And then we're all back in downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel. Dog at the high fire hydrant, bending the knee. Through to the lunge. And bringing that left knee down, coming up in Jayasana. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And then we'll cactus the arms and taking them to the eagle pose arms. Right arm under. Finding a good spot, maybe a little more lift, maybe a little more pull down. We'll open the arms back to the cactus. Lengthen up. And just bring the arms down wide and we'll straighten up the left leg and let's go to the warrior one, grounding the left heel down, or you could do the high lunge instead if you would rather. That lunge pulling, my lunge is wanting to spring up today too for some. And let's circle the arms all the way around and back up overhead. Namaste in front. And namaste into the floor, stepping forward into the concave back, folding over. Couple deep breaths here. Using whatever bend and extend in the legs you want. And then coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pressing the arms down. And let's take a circle with the shoulders to interlock the fingers, lengthening up the front of the body, to lift the chest, to lift the chin. And here we are in Salabhasana, standing up.
And coming forward and over. And release the hands. Concave back, folding over. Vinyasa, downward facing dog.
Deep breath. All right, here we go around on the left, lifting the left leg up.
And good, dog at the high fire hydrant. Through to the lunge. And then we'll bring the right knee down. We have the kneeling lunge first. Coming up in Anjayasana. And then cactus the arms. And taking the left arm under in the eagle pose arms. And sort of finding a good spot, a little up, a little down, pressing away through the lower arms. And then cactus, lifting up. And a big reach down. And coming up in the warrior one. It could be the high lunge. Inner thigh going forward on that left leg. Inner thigh going back on the right. Sitting bones reaching for the floor. Feet reaching for the floor. And circling those arms around. Namaste in front and into the floor, stepping forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. Let's take a few breaths here again. Coming up to standing, big front body one. Pressing the arms down. This time let's do a side bend. We'll bring the left arm up and over to the right. We'll lean out into that left outer hip, a long line from the fingertips down to the outer foot. And a big lift through the top of the head, other side. Right arm up and over to the left. Long line from that right outer foot out the right fingertip. And the big lift up, coming over. Big front body yawn and diving over. Concave back, folding over, and vinyasa, downward facing dog. And even as you lower in chaturanga, a little pull forward and back, feeling. All right, downward facing dog.
And let's lift our right leg. Dog at the high fire height. And let's add in a hover plank, bringing that right knee forward and swooping it back up and through to the lunge, turning to the elephant riser. Pressing those knees out. Maybe a little shifting and squinging in the hips. And then we'll come into the forward bend, keeping the outer rotation. Pulling up the arch of the foot, up the inner shin, spirals across the knee, around the back of the thigh, into the sitting bones. You can feel the outer heels dragging in toward the center line, while that inner edge of the foot on the diagonal sort of goes outward. So we're going to keep actively spiraling our legs into the hip joints once we're in the forward bend. And then elephant rider again. Straighten the legs up, three-pointed star, spiraling those legs into the hip joints. And we'll press the arms to parallel, feet to parallel. So we'll rotate the right leg out. So I'm doing my real right leg toward the front of your mat. And then let's take a side bend up with that right arm. And into the triangle, that right leg is still spiraling itself into the hip joint. And then don't just press the arm back, feel the whole torso flatten back. Sometimes when we press too aggressively with the arm, we actually press our upper chest forward. So you want to let that press of the arm take the whole torso back. So maybe this is good enough, or you want to come up in Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon. If you want to come up in a balancing. The same thing here too. Can you find that if you're in the half moon, that spiraling up of that right leg into the hip joint? So move the block more to the right. Yeah, there we go. So if you're up in the air, let's bring our left leg down. And we're just going to turn down to the lunge and into the pigeon. Bringing the left knee down, the right foot goes across to the left. Right knee comes back a little bit to the right, maybe on a block or blanket or something. And here we are. Inhaling up the front of the body, exhale, pouring down. And then coming forward, and taking the hands wide, kind of at the edge of the mat. So we're going to use the flat hands, though you could use the spider hands again if you want. I'm doing sort of that giant bug cobra, but not it so exactly. As we pull the hands back to lift up, and then reaching out and over, and then rounding up and reaching
reaching out. So finding a good spot for your hands where you can work with this. So if you like this rippling, we'll do a couple more. And then we'll land in the sleeping pigeon. And just a couple more breaths here. And we'll make our way up, and we're going to sit to the side into the half dragon fly, reaching out through that left heel. We'll scoop under with the left leg, maybe moving it forward to get on the sitting bones. And then we're going to switch legs. Extend your right leg out. And let's bend the left. The leg at the back of the mat. So we'll let that bent right knee have a little break there. All right, so here we are with our one long leg and one short leg. And we'll twist to the left towards your bent leg, back of the mat. Inhaling and exhaling. And right hand on the right leg. And then reaching out with the left arm, side bend up and over the right leg. Parvrita Janushirsasana. Come back up long through the top of the head. And then we're going to do that on kind of single breaths in a little flow thing for 3 times. Inhale and exhale, twist left. Hand on the leg behind, inhale and exhale, side bend over the right leg. Take a breath, a little deepening. And then coming up. Let's do that twice more. And 1. And 2. Hold 3. And 4. Or something like that. Once more. And then back in the center, we'll extend our left leg out again. Taking a forward bend, konasana, the angle pose. Up, bringing those legs in, having a nice squeeze in for a moment. And then we'll just turn back to the front of our mat, expanding up into downward facing dog. And letting yourself arrive there. And then through the vinyasa or not. Or maybe 2 or 3 vinyasas. And there we are, downward facing dog. Let's lift our left leg up. And bending the knee, dog at the high fire hydrant. Hover plank, left leg forward, left knee forward. And swooping it back up behind you, through to the lunge. Turn into the elephant climber. All right, and then starting from the feet to straighten the legs, coming up the arch of the foot, up the inner shins, spiraling around to the sitting bones into the forward bend with the outer rotation. And then we keep doing that spiraling. We don't sort of get the legs straight and then stop everything. Still spiraling. There's even a pulling up as if the legs are going to get straighter and the hips are going to get higher. Top of the head probably can get lower. And then bending the knees again, back to the elephant rider. All right, and then we'll spiral our legs up to standing in the 3-pointed star. Here too, once we're there, we keep going, we keep getting taller. We reach more, the legs spiral more, we practically turn ourselves inside out. And then pressing the arms down to parallel, feet parallel. And we will rotate the left leg out toward the front of the mat. And then bringing that left arm up, side bend away. So we have a wind up. Keep that left leg spiraling into the hip joint as we tilt over into the triangle. Top of the head reaches forward, left leg spirals back. And as you're trying to press open flatter, also press the rib cage back against the spine. So maybe staying here in the triangle or shifting up to the half moon. So now your hand would go on a little diagonal toward the left corner, away from your left leg. And try to keep spiraling that left leg up here, which is sometimes a little challenging. That left leg somehow feels like it's a parallel leg, the one we're standing on. At least it does to me, except that it's not actually, it's rotating out. So the triangle's fine. See, you got the hands too close to your foot for
Yeah, I think you're right.
Ardha.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now I'm in the same orientation, so you can actually look at me
Yes,
and
yes,
tell
yes.
me where I am. All right, a couple more breaths here. And then we'll float that right leg down and just turn to the lunge. And we're in the pigeon. Landing on the floor. So whatever the challenges of the pigeon are, they're not so much about balance. And then doing that cobra action. Up the front, down the back. And then we'll come over and taking the hands somewhere wide to the side of the mat. And then coming up and somewhere between just kind of a wide cobra, bug cobra. And then we'll reach forward and down and rippling back up. Letting that wave of the breath through the spine. We're doing about 6 all together, or whatever number you're doing. And then we will finish with this to come into the sleeping pigeon. And coming up. And we'll reach through that right leg, turn into the half dragonfly. So we arrive here with our bent left leg a moment, getting that right leg a little under and forward as needed. And then we'll extend that left leg out. Take a little stretch and bend the right. All right, so here we are. Straight leg to the front of the mat, bent leg to the back as we twist to the right. So going a little more slowly this first time. Inhale and exhale. And then left hand on the left leg, reaching out with that right arm up and over. Our Vrijana Shirsasana, side bending over the left leg. Using that breath to gently deepen. And then coming up, inhale and exhale, coming up. All right. And then on kind of the single breath with a short hold in there. Inhale and exhale, twisting to the right. Left hand on the left leg. Inhale and exhale, side bend over. Hold and deepen. And then coming up. And doing that twice more. And then we will finish with that. I think that was twice more. You can keep going if you want. Let's extend our right leg out into konasana. Coming forward, breathing into the center, radiating out. Yes, try to keep those backs. Okay, here I am. Okay, so there we are in konasana, and let's pull the legs in into a little roll. Well, if it was going to stop anywhere, that was kind of a convenient place. And then we'll just turn to the front of the mat, and let's come up onto our knees, and we'll do a little ustrasana. Hands on the sacrum, sliding them down. Just ease yourself out to that first edge. Deep breath. And maybe there's a little more. Remember, sometimes something feels like not quite right. You want to come back up. Little adjustments there and go back in. And we'll take 5 or 6 more breaths here, working with our ustrasana. If you want to bring the hands to the heels, go ahead. And then we will finish with this. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose, maybe a little micro cat and cow. And then up. And coming down into Shavasana. Letting go of all effort and just resting against the floor. Inhale and exhale, every breath sinking you just a little more into the floor.
Taking one more long, deep breath here. Moving the fingers and toes, maybe circling the wrists and ankles. Stretching the arms up overhead. Oh, and the knees. And gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with a long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming. Let's see, here we are.